Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and this is your wake-up call.
When a brown girl child is born, the earth shifts. The sun is at half-mast. The moon waits for her first cry. The ancestors set the table. The flowers turn red as blood. This is your land, continent daughter, with tree trunk legs and branches for arms. This is your soil, black and fertile as your eyes facing an apartheid Jim Crow current past memory. Some of us begin the removal of shackles at birth. We grow into the armor of struggle quickly. We brew courage in our tea, blend bravery into our Sunday dinners. Joanne Watson, you understand nation building is not a part-time job. This dedicated life is sometimes lonely, a vulnerable choice, but it is the only way you know how to operate. You are wired for the movement in your black women bones, even when tired, still fighting, still organizing, still singing morning spirituals. You were born to lead, even in your own family, the eldest of 10 children born to Jefferson and Lestine. You made Damon, Nefertari, Stephen, Maya. Her children always knew she was larger than life. When you are a woman in the movement, you take the children with you on the journey. You bring the babies with you to your college classes. When you travel to Ghana for the first time, it will be with your daughters in tow. When you are a fearless, nationalist thinking mama, mothering never stops with your own babies. 30 godchildren and mentees across the globe. The daughter of a ministering mother is already ordained for good trouble. A seer, a prophetic young student preparing for her lifelong role as servant to her own community. When your purse was snatched in a Farmer Jack parking lot many years ago with your kids' tickets to Run DMC in the purse, you made sure they still got to that concert and even hosted Melly Mel and the Furious Five in your living room, because queens make it look easy. When you're a single mom, people will tell you what you can't do. Instead, you move to New York City with all 4 of your C's to do your necessary work with the YWCA, because queens make it look easy. Ghana, Togo, South Africa, where is your heart, Mama Watson? Nurturing spirit, baking melt in your mouth, homemade biscuits. How many hours do you sleep, Warrior Watson, with endless work ethic and blue-collar blood racing through your veins? How do we say thank you for your work, your time, your heart? We know you will never really retire. There is a fire on the path to freedom. There is smoke, there is sacrifice. There are stories of justice, of women, of Tubman, Sojourner, of Angela, Asada, Coretta, and Merle, and Betty, and Queen Mother Moore. Some of us know we are ancient, that our marrow is laced with legacy, that we are here to bring light to our daughters. Sometimes it just takes one woman, a mother, a grandmother, a Spitfire, griot, a sister, the only woman to lead the NAACP's largest chapter. She, daughter of the movement, of Rosa, of Irma. She was a birth that gave birth to possibility for other young activists like me, a true D woman, frontline Fatima, Nigerian blood, councilwoman, leader, truth teller, Joanne Watson, social worker, president of the Anti-Klan Network, sister, inspiration, dedicated to the protection of girls and the voices of women wrapped in West African beauty, regal and resilient. Wake up, Detroit. Wake up, South Africa. Wake up, Cuba. Wake up, small business owners. Wake up, White House. Wake up, reparations. Wake up, teachers. Wake up, women. Wake up, schools. Sleeping is not an option when the Honorable Joanne Watson is in the room.
Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson. This is your wake-up call, and we're waking up with our co-host and sponsor, the wonderful, wonderful Monica Lewis Patrick. We, the people of Detroit, and she has absolutely a treasure filled of news to share with us this day on the wake-up call. Let us welcome Monica Lewis Patrick.
Good morning, Mother Watson. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. We're so happy that you're here.
It's my honor.
And
It's my
every
honor.
time I hear your name, I get a chill because you are the movement in Detroit. A whole lot of people look up to you because of your steadfast connection to the people. It's never about you. It's always trying to help somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
It's always for the people, we the people.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you've been such a significant model for us. We consider ourselves standing on your shoulders in the legacy of People like the amazing and the Honorable Irma L. Henderson.
My.
We often call the names of all of those legends of Mother Rosa Parks.
Mercy.
We were just speaking of the great legend himself, the Dean,
Mercy.
and none other than John Conyers.
Come on,
And
somebody.
so those names, I even sent a chill through me to recognize that we're going to finally see an honor bestowed upon the great, the legend himself, Coleman Alexander Young,
What you say?
being rightfully put in his place
That's right.
of acknowledgement in the U.S. Capitol. So
That's exactly right.
It's those kinds of names, and we consider ourselves really part of stewarding this legacy of greatness that comes through the road of Detroit. The world knows us for being the city that put the world on wheels.
You better say it.
For being the arsenal of
Oh,
democracy.
say it.
And I remind people, even till this day, there is greatness still in Detroit.
That's right. There is greatness in Detroit.
Yes,
and
it
that's one of the reasons why Detroit has been a target
That's right.
for assaults over the years from certain forces, because they recognize there's something special about a city that produced Coleman Alexander Young, the Honorable Coleman Alexander
Yes.
Young, and the Honorable Irma L. Henderson. And, of course,
Yes,
Detroit
yes.
was the home of Mother Rosa Parks for more years than she lived in Alabama.
Yes, ma'am.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
the magnificent legacy of Congressman John Conyers, who was the dean of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Congressman Charles Diggs, who founded the Congressional Black Caucus. It was founded by Congressman Charles Diggs from Detroit.
Yes, yes,
We have to remind people who the founder of CBC was.
yes.
But the co-founder of We the People of Detroit is Monica Lewis Patrick. And you shared something with us this week about a wonderful organization telling the state of Michigan that it needed to have an affordable water plant all over the state.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that good news.
We are so excited to finally see this report come to fruition. We've been working on it really since 2018.
Wow.
Really working, first of all, rooting it in community as we were always taught. We started out with a process that we thought was going to take us 4 months. It took 18 months.
Wow.
Because we prioritized community's thoughts,
Yes.
ideas, principles, values. And so we formulated something called the 10-point must-haves in a water affordability policy.
Wow.
We thought at that time it was going to be just centrally focused on Detroit. The momentum grew to such a
Excellent.
degree that it was something that was embraced at a state level.
I love
It's
it.
now been utilized to move policy at a federal level.
Excellent.
And the brilliance of this moment is that it has put us in a position to actually move Michigan beyond the stagnation of saying they can't make water affordable.
Hey.
We now have research and data that says yes, you can.
Oh, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Somebody else said yes, you can.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And this is a watershed moment.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Because water is critical. Water is a human right. You cannot exist for more than 3 days without water. Water is necessary to survive, and water was already here before man got
Yes,
here.
it was.
Water
Yes, it
was
was.
here in the beginning.
We remind people we need water, but water doesn't necessarily need us.
Oh, say it.
We need it, though. And we have this wonderful opportunity, we believe, for the state of Michigan to move past really what has been a target and a black eye on the state in terms of it not being able to move past shutting off water.
Imagine that, a state surrounded by the Great Lakes.
The Great Lakes state.
Come on now.
Yes, ma'am. And so we think that it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a win-win. And one of the things I think people were most surprised about in the report is that I advised the consultant to center utilities.
Yes.
To center utilities because where we were getting the most opposition to a water affordability policy, and I reminded folks even yesterday, there was a room full of philanthropists and government folks. I was able to tell the story.
Go ahead.
That it was Detroit, that it was the Honorable Councilwoman Joanne Watson and the late, great Mary Ann Mahaffey
What you say?
that were the first architects of a water affordability policy in the nation. We have to remind people of that.
Come
They
on
often
now.
want to convolute that history. But it was a wonderful moment to lift up the Detroiters. Not only had a legacy of harm, of shutting off water, but we had a legacy of greatness,
That's
of being
right.
able to demonstrate how to keep water on.
That's
Well, it's
exactly
through
right.
that lens of greatness that we, the people of Detroit, have just continued to connect the dots. And so now with this policy, and we're super excited that the University of Michigan's Law School has stepped in.
Come on now.
And they have taken on a significant role in being able to take the research, take the 10-point must-haves, and they've created a companion piece of legislation that will help Michiganders. So we
Excellent.
see this as a watershed moment for the administration. We see this as a watershed moment for Michigan.
That's right.
That we have now a trifecta of representation. So there should be nothing standing in the way of water affordability for
I
the
love
great
it.
state of Michigan.
This is a great moment.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And the truth is, water, if we don't begin to address it as a holistic issue nationwide and really internationally, is going to be unaffordable for most of the people in this country
That's right.
within 20 years.
That's right. And what we were able to do too, Mother Watson, one of the things that you had often talked to us about is how to establish relationships with folks before we needed them.
Ooh, say it.
And so we were able to work, and Mama Gwen really pushed us on this, not just talking to urban partners that
Yes.
we knew were experiencing the same conditions of
Yes.
unaffordability, but building across suburban and rural communities.
on now.
And so we've been able to lift
Organizing.
up. Yes, ma'am.
Organizing,
Yes, ma'am. We
organizing.
learned from the best. We've learned from the best.
on now.
But in rural communities, we were able to lift the voices of our rural partners.
Excellent.
Because many of them needed dollars to invest in sub-tanks
Yes.
and the upgrades of their wells.
Yes.
We were able to take that message all the way to the federal government. So in the water infrastructure bill, some of that language is included. We were
Excellent.
able to lift what was happening to tribal communities.
Yes.
Many of them had no infrastructure.
My,
so
my.
unlike us, where they were having infrastructure shut off, they had nothing to shut off or turn on.
My,
and so
my.
we were able to advocate that there's an allocation of funding to make sure that there are infrastructure put in place, that there's proper sewage,
Yes.
and that no longer are we seeing the Navajo Nation, much like the women of Detroit, having to haul water from door to door and house to house.
My Lord,
So
my
we're
Lord.
super excited about what we have learned
Yes.
and then how it's transpired into actually changing policy. And we believe we're in a moment of systemic change
That's
because
it.
water is a human right.
Absolutely. And water also is the new gold, is it not?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am, it is. They actually call it on the international scale blue gold.
Okay, say it.
Because they recognize its worth. But I also see, too, how water is being privatized and commodified on a national and international scale. And Detroit, of course, has been able to create some connection there. It was because of the long legacy in Detroit around organized labor
Yes.
that allowed us to get into some places internationally
Yes.
to continue to sound the alarm that we must stop the privatization and commodification of water.
It's inhumane.
It is. It
and
is.
it's ungodly, and it really does not honor the people, we the people who need water.
Yes, ma'am.
The
We the people.
corporations, their focus is on profit,
That's right. That's right.
when the people must be focused on how to thrive and survive, and how are the elders going to do, how are the
Yes.
babies going to make it,
Yes.
how are the households going to be able to afford it. And you cannot have water unreachable, inaccessible, unaffordable.
No, ma'am. And what we've seen in Detroit since 2014, over 141,000 households have been shut off from water.
My
We know
Lord.
in those households are anywhere from 1 to 2 to 6 to 10 people.
Sure.
So in those kinds of conditions, to not have water on, to not have a pathway, and that too has led to some work that we've done most recently at We the People of Detroit. Thank God for Cecily McClellan.
Yes, indeed.
Thank God for that institutional knowledge that
Yes.
she brings to bear.
Yes.
She is the GOAT, as we call her at We the People of Detroit, the greatest of all time
That's
as it
right.
relates to advocating for water.
That's right.
And so under Cecily's leadership, Mama Cecily, as we refer to her, she's been able to coordinate a series of meetings with council persons. She's also been a critical part of organizing our presence at the Board of Water Commissioners.
Excellent.
And we've been weighing in very deliberately around this new Detroit Lifeline.
Wonderful.
We are
Tell everybody what that is.
well, the Detroit Lifeline is really, it's a policy that has been presented to the residents of Detroit to really try to address and mitigate some of the harms of not being able to afford unaffordable water in the city. The Detroit Lifeline came to bear in the summer. It was something that sort of popped up. In our opinion, we were shocked when we read in the newspaper that We the People of Detroit was endorsing this policy.
Oh, my.
And so we immediately had to reach out to the administration to let them know that we were pleased with these first steps and glad to see them moving in the right direction of water affordability, but in no way could they put our name on something that
That's
we had
right.
never seen or been
That's
a part
right.
of. And so out of a duty of transparency and accountability to our community, we agreed to sit at the table, but only sitting at the table in proxy for our community.
Yes.
Making sure that we were challenging things that we saw as holes,
That's
gaps,
right.
or inefficiencies. We were excited to see Mr. Brown commit to 1.8% of a person's income.
Yes.
That we don't believe that people should pay more than 2.5 to
That's
3%
right. That's
of their
right.
income. We have Detroiters paying anywhere from 10 to 25%
That's exactly
of their
right.
income for water. We also were excited to see that there was going to be access to water, but then we were disturbed by the fact that there's some limitations, that you only have access to 4,500 gallons. And of course, according to DWSD, they are basing this on a report where they looked at statistical usage But we're concerned about that because we know that right now the mayor is suing the federal government for undercounting through the census process.
That's right.
So we can't use the same instrument that we say is a bad calculation
Yeah.
of data and then say we're going to make good policy based on bad data.
That's right.
And so we challenge that. And what we also asked Mr. Brown to do is to look at, instead of looking at the allocation based on a 3-family household,
Yes.
to look at it based on the national standards from the EPA, which is based on a family of 4. We also raised some concerns about the fact that it is a tiered process.
Yes.
The first tier is 18, the next one is 38, the next one is 58. But the concern is if you go beyond that 4,500 gallons, you are automatically bumped up to each one of the next tiers.
Yes.
And you still may have a bill that's unaffordable for you.
Yes.
And so we are still saying this is not affordability. It is a progressive assistance program. But what we are strongly advocating for is that they have about 12,000 people enrolled in the program.
Yes.
By the end of the year, we need at least 20,000 people in that program to evidence that there is a need.
So people who are just hearing about it need to get in touch
Yes, ma'am.
and enroll.
They need to get in touch and enrolled, and there's a couple of places to do this. We, the people of Detroit, Cecily McClellan and the Water Rights Hotline is taking information to be a part of that advocacy.
Excellent.
So you can contact us at 1-844-42-WATER, 1-844-42-WATER. Mama Cecily, Mama Aurora, Mama Chris, Mother Howard, someone will respond to you. And please leave a clear message communicating your name and a contact number. But the second thing is that we have to put the onus where it belongs, and
Yes.
that's on Community Action Agency Wayne Metro. Wayne Metro has a contract, and they are acting as a third-party facilitator
I see.
on behalf of the Water Department and the state of Michigan. So it's our understanding dollars have already been allocated for this. There's only enough funding for 18 months.
Oh, my.
So we're telling people this is not a fix. This is a Band-Aid. But our people need a Band-Aid.
That's
They
true.
need that relief right now. So we want you to contact Wayne Metro. We want you to make sure that you reach out to them, that you get the information that you need. Let them know that you got this information.
All right.
That you heard it on this station.
All right.
That you were sent to them by folks over here.
That's right.
In Highland Park, making sure that people in Detroit have water.
That's right.
Yes,
we the people of Detroit. And
Yes,
the
ma'am.
CEO, Monica Lewis Patrick, sponsor of Wake Up Detroit.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is critical because water is a human right, and everybody must have access to water.
yes.
Not some people, everybody. And particularly given the backdrop of Detroiters overpaying for water for decades.
And-
Detroiters pay retail rates when
Yes.
the suburban customers pay wholesale rates for the same water.
Yes, ma'am.
There's something wrong with that picture.
Well, it's something so wrong with it that we're having to, even yesterday, explain to a room full of folks why it is that Detroit is still challenged around this particular issue, given the fact that the Great Lakes Water Authority was supposedly such an answer for us. And we were able to raise in that room, and of course, Mr. Brown was there, and it was an interesting exchange. And even as we're trying to turn this page toward a new opportunity,
Yes.
we had to speak truth to power, that Great Lakes Water Authority should be paying the residents of Detroit $215 million a year.
Come on now.
We're only getting, out of a $50 million lease agreement, we're only getting $33 million from others. We're actually subsidizing ourselves to even be in an agreement
My
with the
Lord.
Great Lakes Water Authority.
My Lord.
So $215 million annually on a 30-year lease is a significant loss to the
Absolutely.
residents of Detroit, and it's a burden that we will never be able to get from under without an equitable lens in terms of who owes and who should pay.
So glad you were in that room, Monica
Well,
Lewis
yes,
Patrick.
ma'am. Yes,
We're
ma'am.
going to take a short break, and we shall return right after this. Monica Lewis Patrick, our co-host and sponsor of Wake Up Detroit. We the people of Detroit is in the house. We'll be back with more right after this.
We, the people of Detroit, is dedicated to community coalition building and to the provision of resources that inform, train, and mobilize the citizens of Detroit and beyond to improve their quality of life. As a community-based grassroots organization, We the People of Detroit aim to inform, educate, and empower Detroit residents on imperative issues surrounding civil rights, land, water, education, and the democratic process. For more information, call 844-42-WATER, 844-42-WATER, or email wethepeopleofdetroit.com.
Ready to put your podcast on iHeartRadio? Yes, your podcast on iHeartRadio. What about Alexa, Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Android, or iPhone? Plus live TV streaming. Get your podcast seen and heard all over the world. Call 313-868-6612. Pre-recorded shows are accepted to be archived. This is a WHPR distribution platform. Download the app from the App Store. Go to WHPRTV.com. Channels available for lease 24/7 on Roku, Fire Stick, or Apple TV. Coming soon, subscription and pay-per-view.
Also,
Block Time is available. Get yours. Call 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Executive producer R.J. Watkins. Program director Henry Tyler. 107.5 FM WGPR HD2. RadioWeCanSee.com.
Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and joined by co-host Monica Lewis Patrick. We the people of Detroit CEO, and we're talking about water.
Yes.
Talking about water. Actually, water is sacred.
Yes. Yes.
It's sacred. It's a human right, and it's something. Our bodies are mostly water.
Yes, ma'am.
The earth is mostly water. Water is something that everybody needs, and no one should have to suffer for lack of water.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I learned, and Deborah Taylor and I both learned under your leadership, was the significance of water and the significance of Detroit in terms of global water. We have to remind people often up until the late 1997, Detroit had a world-class water system.
That's right.
That we still own the largest water in North America,
That's
the
right.
largest water infrastructure in North America.
That's right.
If you go around the world, people still know us as producing some of the best quality water
That's true.
in the world. And so we often hold on to that. We remind folks all the time that when we had publicly owned and controlled water system under the control of Black Detroit, we never poisoned anybody.
No.
We have to say that because many times people will connect what has happened under GLEWA and happened under austerity with the residents of Detroit.
That's true.
That was not Detroit.
No.
And then it was the privatization. When we found out under your leadership that they were privatizing the internal operations, the lab that actually tested water, we knew in 4 to 6 hours what the quality of our water was.
That's right.
And so losing that kind of institutional knowledge, losing that kind of transparency
Right.
in government and municipal oversight has really created a major harm and division between us and our water department.
exactly right.
I had to tell a room full of folks yesterday, I take no pride in talking about the failures of our water department because for a long time we took a lot of pride in having a great water department.
Absolutely.
But then after we saw from the late 90s on until really the pandemic, the massive turning off of water
Yes.
to the scale where we were looking at 4,000 to 8,000 households a month at a time and no recourse, no ability to get that water restored. And I know the thing that really hit me so hard was when I realized that there was state law that says that if you don't have running water in your house for 72 hours, your children can be taken.
My Lord.
Well, I've been a single mother
My
in the
Lord.
city of Detroit.
My Lord.
Paying $1,000 a month for
Come on,
car
somebody.
insurance, having to seek your guidance for housing. I've gotten that water bill with the printed across it in
Yeah.
red, due by or overdue. And so knowing that fear, knowing that concern, knowing the harm that creates for dismantling families. And then when the UN came and the congressman was a part of
He
that,
was.
that conversation and hosting and that delegation. And even then, if you recall, Mother Watson, we heard stories of social workers and teachers
Yes.
that were hiding that information because they knew that these families were not doing it out of neglect.
That's right.
That they didn't have water. They couldn't afford it.
That's right.
Water has gone up. The cost of water has gone up in Detroit since the 80s over 286%.
My Lord.
It's gone up in Flint 320%. It's gone up across the state of Michigan 188%. We know that wages have not kept pace with that.
Absolutely not. And in Flint, people are being forced to pay for water they still can't drink.
Still can't drink, can't trust it. Benton Harbor, the same thing. We're seeing them almost use the playbook that they used to privatize and regionalize Detroit's
That's
water.
right.
They're using the same playbook on Flint, on Benton Harbor. Benton Harbor right now, not under any control of its own, but under emergency management. It was divested from. And now the system has been so weakened that it's leaching toxic water into the system. Well, you changed the pipes, but you haven't rebuilt the trust.
Come on now.
So the people don't trust the water, and they're still buying bottled water. The same is true in Flint. You still don't have all the pipes replaced in Flint.
No.
So without being able to demonstrate a true commitment to the humanity that you claim you represent, people are always going to be distrusting. It's going to create the difficulty in returning people to the tap. The cheapest and most efficient way for us to access water is through the tap.
That's right.
But right now, we're subsidizing Nestle by the purchasing of bottled water.
Have mercy. And Nestle does not need to be subsidized by the state of Michigan.
They do not. They actually pay very little to the state of Michigan.
Pennies
They
on the
pay
dollar.
about $200 a year for a leasing agreement, a permit agreement, to extract millions of gallons of water out of the Great Lakes, and pretty much unregulated.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, where they're paying $200, a multi-billion-dollar company, for water once a year, the residents of Flint and Detroit can't pay that a month to
Disgraceful.
access water.
Disgraceful.
Yes, ma'am, it is. And it shouldn't happen, and it won't happen. At least we don't believe on our watch.
When you look at the history of the city of Detroit, used to be the provider for Flint citizens.
Yes, it was.
The water department, which is the best water in the world, provided water, quality water for citizens in Flint, but it was Governor Snyder.
That's right.
And his emergency manager cohorts.
That's right.
Who decided to make the water department in Detroit look less profitable so they could do this illegal, unconstitutional plan of regionalization and take Flint off of Detroit's water system and decide to make the Flint people have access to the Flint River for their water, which is ridiculous.
Yes.
Evil.
Yes.
Just evil. It's contaminated, toxic Flint River. That never should have happened. And they were warned.
That's
An
right.
insider told me in the engineering department of the water department that they warned the state, don't disconnect Flint.
Yes.
The Flint River is not sustainable.
Yes.
So this business that they didn't know, that's a lie. They knew.
Yes, ma'am.
They knew. They just didn't care.
That's right. That's right.
They didn't care about
right.
these poor babies and elders and the people of Flint who deserves to have water like everybody else.
That's right. That's right. And the thing that we've learned so much about the great work that's come out of Flint in spite of this austerity, in spite of the poisoning, is that just like Detroit, there has been this brilliance of innovation
Yes.
and creativity. One of the things that we've been working closely with the family in Flint around is they've created something called the Flint Water Lab. And they are training young people to test water.
Excellent.
And these were some of the same young people that went door to door during the Flint water crisis to make sure that elders had water,
Yes.
to make sure that they tested their water. And what we found is that elders were willing to open the door for young people. They were excited to see this genius in their community. And so out of that work, we've been able to partner with them
Go ahead.
to bring this knowledge to other communities, like Dr. Alicia Smith, who's in Toledo with
Yes.
Toledo Junction, doing amazing work. She's creating blue-green infrastructure jobs, so this technology is being shared with them to grow their knowledge. It's also been something we've incorporated at We the Youth of Detroit.
Excellent. Go
Super
ahead.
excited about the babies. As a matter of fact, we hope to, in a couple of weeks, be cutting the ribbon on our innovation lab.
I love it.
The babies will have access to a full media
Excellent.
and media and music studio. They will have 3 3D printers to be able to learn that technology.
I love it, and they can be regular guests here on Wake Up Detroit.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. But we're excited about them, and they're excited about this work. They're excited about learning about the science of water, learning the policies, learning how all of these issues connect us. Because often it's siloed into, it's water shutoffs in Detroit, it's lead in Flint, it's
Right.
algae blooms in Toledo. No, these issues are about divestment.
That's right.
We have been divested from, especially in the urban core, for the last 50 years.
That's right.
On water itself. Up until late 1997, the federal government contributed about 67%
That's
of the
right.
dollars that went into infrastructure. They're only contributing about 7 to 9%. And what we know is that our communities are suffering because that transition of that budgetary gap has gone from the federal government to the state to the municipality to the individual ratepayer.
And it should not be.
It cannot be. It cannot be. Our public health is on the line.
That's right.
Our quality of life is on the line. Our babies are missing days in school. Our parents are missing time at work. This is a solvable issue.
It is.
And we must solve it in our lifetime.
That's right.
And we think that this moment presents itself right here in Michigan. We know that as goes Detroit, so goes Michigan,
That's
so
right.
goes the nation.
That's right.
And we believe we must turn the page on shutting water off in Detroit, in Michigan, in the nation.
That's it. Go ahead. Go ahead. I love it. I
Yes,
love
ma'am.
it. There should absolutely be no tolerance for any water shutoffs.
That's right.
No water shutoffs. The truth is, if I had my way, we wouldn't pay for water anyway because you don't pay to breathe. Air was already here
Yes, ma'am.
when man arrived. Thanks be to God.
Yes, ma'am.
Water was already here
Yes.
when man arrived. So putting a price, a commodity on water, something no man created, is inhumane. And excessively charging for water is excessively inhumane.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Detroiters have been overcharged. I believe Detroiters are owed reparations for money overpaid, while we've been paying retail and a suburban customers have been paying wholesale. So somebody, some legal wizard needs to take a look at that and look at what could be provided back to Detroit households. Even if your grandma and grandma gone, somebody's still here
That's right.
who can collect for them.
That's right. And that's some of the work that we did. The consultant that actually drafted the report was a critical leader in Camden, New Jersey.
Yes.
In making sure that they, as the host community, got the benefit of the agreement.
Go ahead.
Unlike what happened in Detroit.
That's right.
And so often I'm invited into rooms to talk about the bad deal
That's
around
right.
GLEWA. And I lift up how consolidation was actually a raiding of the coffers of the
That's it.
city.
That's it.
But we also have learned on a national scale that we do have communities that consolidation is what they're seeking.
Yes.
And we've been able to bring that knowledge to bear too.
Excellent.
But with a caveat. And that caveat is that even if you choose to consolidate your utility, it must have an equity and justice lens
That's
in
right.
terms of ownership and control.
That's right.
Right now, we have ownership with very little insight or control as to what's happening with our infrastructure. So what I told a young woman yesterday, she said, well, Mom Monica, how is it that you own it, but you have very little control over it? And I said, it's political will. There was
Yeah.
no political will great enough to ensure the protection of the rights of the residents of Detroit.
That's exactly
And
right.
so that lack of political will to ensure
It's created an apartheid situation.
it is apartheid. It is
The
apartheid.
Detroiters own it but do not control. That's apartheid.
Yes, it is.
That's exactly what South Africa fought for decades. That
Yes, ma'am.
kept Nelson Mandela in prison for 27 years. Apartheid should not be tolerated
That's right.
nor acceptable, and we shouldn't get used to it. It should not become the norm.
That's right.
And we have to remind people that when things are not correct, when they're not righteous, when they're not just, when they're unconstitutional, you just keep fighting.
Yes.
You keep fighting until
Yes.
you win.
Yes. Yes.
You keep fighting, and we need to get that fight back in us. Get
right.
organized and stop taking it.
Yes.
Fight.
Yes. And that's the other thing that I think we carry in our bellies that we the people of Detroit.
Yes.
Is that we don't take second class citizenship lying down.
That's right. That's what Mother Helen Moore says all the
no,
time.
Won't take it. Deborah Taylor says it to us all the time. We'll not tolerate it.
That's right.
And so with that, and understanding the legacy, the brilliance of what we stand for and what we are connected to, then we owe.
That's right.
And part of that owing is that I have to speak truth to power.
That's right.
I'm standing on the shoulders of greatness, but my community is expecting us to deliver.
That's right.
They're expecting us to get water on. I laughed the other day when we got calls from Jackson, Mississippi, like I could just go to Jackson and turn the water on there. And we said, this is our family. Jackson
right.
is our family.
That's right.
So we immediately did things that we could do. We called some folks.
Yes.
We sent some money. We
Yes.
made sure there was some water. But these things must be connected. We believe that this is a federal issue. When you're looking at before the pandemic, 15 million households were struggling with the inability could consistently have water and sanitation.
My Lord.
15 million.
My
and
Lord.
we're not considered a third world country. We're considered a first class
Supposedly.
nation. Supposedly. But I say these things, and I say them openly, because what we know is that as they're able to suppress the information, even in Detroit, when you go back and look at media reports, we were screaming it from the rooftop.
Yeah.
But very little local press was covering these issues.
That's right.
And so you find out years later, now they're saying, oh, you people in Detroit, you were right about that bankruptcy. They didn't have to do that. Well, we knew that.
Detroit was never bankrupt.
Never bankrupt.
Detroit was never. You don't have a $60 billion asset
Asset.
called the Detroit Water Department and have a bankrupt situation. It was never bankrupt. It was a farce.
That's right.
It was a fraud designed to rob pensions, remove the water system out of our hands illegally,
That's right.
take away the rights of the people to have elected leadership, make their policies and plans, and have emergency managers put in place by governors who didn't live here.
That's right. That's right.
Run Detroit and Flint and Benton Harbor and any other city that had an illegal emergency manager.
That's
It was all a setup
That's right.
for greed and profit. And out of the disrespect, it's a voting rights issue.
Yes, it is.
The same kind of voting rights people are fighting for in Congress.
That's right. That's right. And I think that that's why, too, we, to some folks, appear unmovable, steadfast on this issue, because we've seen this playbook before.
Yes.
Like we told folks, they tested it on Detroit first.
That's right.
And so because we see this playbook, part of what our responsibility is to take research and data to
Yes.
validate community voice.
That's right.
We're not telling community what's so, they're telling us what's so. And then we're using our table at research and data to be able to lift that voice,
Say
to
it.
bring validation to it. And then sometimes you get in rooms with policymakers and decision makers, they only want to see facts and figures. They
And-
don't want that passionate story
That's right.
telling them the conditions on the front line.
That's right.
They want to know how much is it going to cost us, or where is their cost savings.
That's right.
And so we bring that information, and we know from the research that you and others did back in 2005 is that it is not economically prudent to shut off water.
No, you
it
lose
actually
money.
you damage the system. It
That's
costs
right.
more to restore it.
That's
It
right.
costs more to cut it off again and turn it back on again.
That's right.
But we also found that it is a grave impact to public health.
That's right.
We found from research done right here in Detroit,
That's
where
right.
they took our mapping data and they laid over 37,000 cases from Henry Ford Health Systems.
Come on
and what
now.
you found that is, if you have water on, this is why you should care that your neighbor has water.
That's right. Tell
You
me.
can have water on, but if your neighbor, if one person on your block does not have water, it increases the probability for public health impacts and infection by
Hepatitis.
1.5%.
That's right.
And so we're constantly letting folks know this is not an individual issue.
That's
and
right.
we as African people, as people of the African
You better
diaspora,
say it, say
we
it.
are a family. And we always do things as a family.
That's right.
If I don't have water, guess what my grandma would make me do? Make me go get a cup and pour half of my water in my cousins or my siblings'
That's
cup,
right, that's
so they
right.
would have some
That's
water.
right,
Same
community.
thing with a sandwich. If I had a sandwich and I walked in the house, 10 cousins, we split it 10 ways. Now, that meant you just got a bite or half a bite, but it was an expectation.
That's right.
That if you had it, your community had it, your family had it.
That's right.
Well, that's the same message that we bring to water.
That's
It's
right.
out of beloved Detroit.
Yeah.
See, whatever this Detroit they talking about, the criminal capital of the world, we don't know nothing about that.
No.
I know a belovedness where people have taken water from door to door.
That's right.
Ran a water hose from their neighbor's house to their house so
My
they
Lord.
could wash their dishes.
My
or be
Lord.
able to gather enough water to wash up with some dignity.
Yes.
That's the Detroit I'm talking
That's
about.
right.
So I know that Detroit does not want one person to not have water.
That's
now, the
right.
thing that we've got to be careful of is not letting them pit us against each other based on class.
That will say it.
Middle and upper class black folks, we're so proud of y'all, and we love y'all. But you must understand, too, that we all must be able to put some skin in the game.
Ooh,
and if
say it.
I've got a neighbor in Detroit that doesn't have water, if it's going to cost me another $1 or $5 to make sure that allocation is there,
That's right.
I should be committed to that.
That's right.
And I think that that's the difference. We always were willing to fund our own liberation. We always were willing to fund our own liberation. We're right now subsidizing a region
Say it.
with no recourse.
That's right.
But at the same time, we shouldn't let our family members in the city of Detroit
No,
suffer
no.
until that is litigated or legislated. Right now, we have an opportunity to get water on and to keep water on.
That's right.
Because my position is, if the mayor has said that he's willing to commit to a permanent plan, if Mr. Brown has said that he's willing to commit to a permanent plan, and the governor has said in 2018, as she came in office, she was willing to commit to ending water shutoffs. I say, let's make them do it.
That's
Detroit.
right.
I say, let's make them do
That's
it,
it.
Michigan.
That's
and
it.
we have a policy and we
And
have
now's
a plan.
the time.
It's the time.
Now is
It's
the time.
We can turn the page on turning water off.
That's right.
Not only in Detroit, but in Michigan.
That's right.
We can end that. And then we can demonstrate to other states that this is a model to the nation.
The city of Detroit will lose no money
No.
by adopting a zero tolerance to water shutoffs.
No,
It will
they'll
lose-
actually garner more money.
It will receive more money.
That's right.
The budget will increase.
That's right.
It will also provide a base level of human rights and accountability
Yes.
for the maintenance of human life.
Yes.
Because people will get sick when there's no water.
That's right.
There's evidence, there's data, there's statistics to prove that. Why would you let that happen
Yes.
in a city surrounded, in an area surrounded by the Great Lakes?
And as we're courting businesses to the city, we know that businesses want to come to Detroit, but they're not going to want to have to navigate the complexities of whether the families they're moving here can access water.
That's right.
They're not even going to want to have the shame connected to them.
That's right.
Moving to a city that's still cutting off
It
water.
impacts everything.
Everything.
Children don't want to go to school if they're not able to wash up and have clean clothes.
That's right. That's right.
They get teased. They get bullied.
That's right.
The mothers, who many of them working in hospitals, they can't go to a hospital without having the proper sanitation at home.
That's right.
There is a need for this to become a reality. What you just said should be the reality now,
Yes.
not in the great by and by, right now.
It's got to happen now. Because what we believe, we're at this critical juncture of these historic federal dollars coming in from the feds to the state through the state revolving fund. It gives us an opportunity to turn the page on water affordability, but it also gives us the ability to build something
That's right.
positive and forward moving.
Yes.
Like we would like to see more of our time spent, instead of advocating to end water shutoffs, I would love to be working on a workforce development strategy
Yes.
where we're connecting with the skilled trades and this unique opportunity to upgrade and green our infrastructure.
Yes.
So we should be moving toward creating a model for the nation. I told them yesterday, we're the same city that put the world on wheels.
Say it.
You mean we can't come up with a model program of workforce development, skilled trades, and being able to merge that with the opportunity with water?
That's right.
I think Detroit and Michigan is poised to do it better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
But we can't continue to be fighting these same old fights
No.
that are archaic when you're talking about water shutoffs. And we know, based on all the research and science, even from water utilities, it's not the only instrument that they want to be a part of using. Then let's move past that.
That's right.
And then what we believe that we can begin to do is work with the water department to bring the backing
Yes.
of the relationships that we built across the state, the region, and the nation.
That's right.
To really create this innovative moment.
That's exactly
And so
right.
I'm excited about what can be, and I think it's that hope that you instilled in us. And I hold on to so many of those teachings from you, but you would never let us leave a meeting, never let us leave a gathering. You would never not convene a table where you didn't speak hope and life into our situation. And so we want to carry that same piece forward. We believe that Detroit is the best place to enact the perfect water affordability
Yes.
plan. Your leadership and the leadership of the late, great Marianne Mahaffey has set the bar for that at a national level. And so Detroit, of all places, we cannot create the template for the nation
That's
and
right.
we not participate.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well said.
Yes, ma'am.
Well said. Water is a human right. Everybody has a need to have access to water. And when we look at Detroit, why not have the state surrounded by the Great Lakes be the engineer for moving the whole nation and even the world forward
Yes.
on 100% access to affordable, accessible water?
And states are waiting on us. I mean, we are in conversations with Oregon and Washington State who are sort of standing by to see what Michigan's going to do so that they can just replicate the very same legislation.
And this is the time for the governor to step up.
Yes.
And to appoint someone to be the point person for water affordability, zero tolerance on water shutoffs anywhere in the state of Michigan, the great state of Michigan, and she should do that immediately.
Yes, ma'am.
You know,
Yes, ma'am.
because she did not get elected by herself.
That's right.
People helped.
That's right.
You talked about young people going door to door. Young people went door to door.
Yes.
In Detroit, and 150,000 households had young people knock on doors.
Yes, ma'am.
Paid,
Yes, ma'am.
they were paid a decent wage.
Praise God.
Yeah, 150,000 households, and they got people out, and then elders opened the door for young people who
Yes,
knocked
they
on the
do.
door,
Yes, they
to
do.
make sure that they voted.
Yes.
So the voter turnout, the surge that increased the voter turnout way beyond what it was for the primary, for the general election, that happened because of some young people
Yes, ma'am.
that got
Yes, ma'am.
put to work and became infused with the power of getting out the vote. They knew what to say, they knew how to say it, how to
Yes.
present themselves,
Yes.
and they did that job. They did it well.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Really, all across the nation, young people showed up in a powerful way.
That's right.
So proud of what took place in Georgia.
That's right.
Just this
Woo!
week. And our babies were on the ground from Detroit.
That's right.
There were babies there, knocking those doors and getting out that vote.
My.
Yes, ma'am.
We had folks from the C.T. Vivian Leadership Development Institute
Yes, ma'am. Awesome.
working hard
Yes.
to make sure that the right forces got in office, were returned to office.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. 6 more years. Praise
My,
God.
my.
Praise God.
That legacy of Dr. King. And,
Yes.
there's something special about this victory in Georgia.
Yes, it is. Well, I think it's reflective and affirming of just our brilliance and our greatness that many times I think folks that live in our communities take for granted.
That's true.
That exceptionalism
My.
that we always have to walk in.
That's right.
That everyone else just sees as average.
Right,
And we
right.
know it's exceptional. And so just so proud of that exceptionalism showing up, especially in the face of really what was a very disappointing representation on the other side of
My Lord.
the aisle. And we know that there's greatness there. Colin Powell represented that greatness.
Come on now.
There have been Republicans
That's right.
of our hue
That's right.
that walked in integrity.
That's
We
true.
may not sort of agree with their political ideology, but they did it with integrity.
That's true.
And so I just love the fact that we showed up and
That's
and
right.
did it well.
That's right.
And did it with grace and finesse. And then thank God for Stacey Abrams.
Woo! Now
Thank God
that's
for
a
Stacey
bad
Abrams.
sister.
Thank God for her. We have to talk about the significance of her in terms of that victory.
Oh, she was all in it.
Yes, she was.
The
Yes, she
groundwork
was.
she laid, the infrastructure she
Yes,
built,
ma'am.
the refusal to be marginalized.
Yes, ma'am.
She made sure that there was organizing going on and coalition building
Yes.
was the name of the game.
Yes.
They
yes.
left no group to chance.
And I love the fact too. What often I see with this current crop of politicians, they don't understand about building for the next.
That's right.
And what I loved about her is that even though she lost her race, she didn't stop campaigning
That's
for
right.
the next.
That's right.
And that's what we've got to begin to buy into, is how do we build that? That's one of the things when I ran in 2013, my whole campaign rested on the legacy of the next that you had built. Being able to get in certain rooms, interfacing with certain business leaders, that happened because you were willing to use your power, your influence, the infrastructure that you had built through years of campaigning and political service. It served me to be able to step into that moment and be able to have some knowledge and wisdom at my disposal. Because a lot of people just putting their finger in the air, here am I, let me go. No. Here am I, God, you send me.
My.
So thank God for your mentorship. And I've seen you do it for others. People don't realize what a coveted space it is to have access to somebody like you. And so I just see that in Stacey Abrams in terms
I
of
love
how
her.
she's
I
presented
love
herself.
her and her work ethic and her
Yes,
ability to
unmatched.
bring people together and just simply organize.
Yes.
Organize.
Yes.
And of course, nobody organized. This was the home of organized labor.
Yes, it is.
So,
Yes,
in
it is.
everybody's household in Detroit, there's somebody that has a connection with labor. There's somebody that has a connection with the human rights, civil rights movement. There's somebody that's been connected with marching and demonstrating. There's somebody who has had their hands on changing things, transforming.
Yes, ma'am.
And we need to make sure that we put that back on the front row. We cannot afford to sit back and hope somebody else picks it up. If it's in your head and your heart, you pick it up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
People need to pick it up. We're going to take a short break, and we shall return with more of Monica Lewis Patrick, our sponsor and our co-host, We the People of Detroit.
We the People of Detroit is dedicated to community coalition building and to the provision of resources that inform, train, and mobilize the citizens of Detroit and beyond to improve their quality of life. As a community-based grassroots organization, We the People of Detroit aim to inform, educate, and empower Detroit residents on imperative issues surrounding civil rights, land, water, education, and the democratic process. For more information, call 844-42-WATER, 844-42-WATER, or email wethepeopleofdetroit.com.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and this is your wake-up call. We're so blessed to have Monica Lewis Patrick as our co-host, and We the People of Detroit as our sponsor of Wake Up Detroit. She's going to give us some good news about how to continue to be on the front row of organizing and transforming our beloved community. Monica Lewis Patrick.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Mother Watson. It's just an honor. I take none of these moments for granted to be with you and with all of your studio guests. But I just want to make sure that the family takes advantage of the Detroit Lifeline.
Yes.
I don't want us to get off of air today without putting out this news that you can use, as you would say. And so if you can take a pencil and pen and get this number down, we want you to put it out far and wide. We want you to tell it and announce it in church.
That's right.
Put it on the hotline. I know my aunties used to get on the call. They three-way. They call it the hotline. So if you can call 313-386-9727, 313-386-9727, and ask for the DWSD Lifeline Plan. The DWSD Lifeline Plan. And you will be contacting Wayne Metro, the Community Action Agency, but that number is 313-386-9727. And of course, their offices are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then Saturday, 9 to 12. But you only have until the end of the year. We don't want you to wait. Please call today. If you have any challenges, contact us at We the People of Detroit at 1-844-42-WATER, 1-844-42-WATER. But the number to call for the Detroit Water Lifeline Plan is 313-386-9727. Put it on social media, tweet it out. They tell me I don't get the tweet stuff right, but y'all get that out.
It's important because this is one of the things that the community has called for.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So when we have demanded that people do certain things, we want to make sure that there's a response.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we think the right response right now is to really get behind the plan.
Yes.
We want that relief for the 20,000 households in Detroit. The thing that we think is so important is that it will actually remove all of your back arrearages. And we have families that have arrearages $5,000, $10,000, $20,000.
That's true.
So to get that relief, it's important enough on that particular point to take advantage of the plan.
Now say that again about the arrearages being eliminated.
This will eliminate, once you are in the plan, and according to Mr. Brown, as of yesterday, anyone that's even in the process of being processed to the plan
Yes.
will be put in a holding category, so your water won't be shut off starting in January.
Right.
Starting January the 31st, if the weather permits, shutoffs will start again in Detroit.
My.
What we are asking and pleading with the community to do is don't let this pass us by.
That's right.
Let the 20,000 get their relief so we can demonstrate that there is a need, and then it puts us in a position to make an appeal to the federal and state government to get a permanent funding source to be able to permanently keep water on. So we need all hands on deck. This is a moment for us, Detroit, to really show up and show out. If you don't have an issue with your water, but your neighbor does, make sure that you're your brother's keeper. Call
That's right.
somebody and get them the help that they need to keep their water on.
That's right. And if you know of someone who is a member of your church,
Yes.
who is in your neighborhood, who's had the water shut
Yes.
off, or who is not able to pay an enormous bill, listen to what she just said about the arrearages.
Yes,
Sign up for this Lifeline plan, and it will be wiped out.
yes. It's
And
a fresh
now
start.
is the time. We want to make sure that people get enrolled by the end of this month,
Yes.
by the end of this year.
Yes. And so we're going to be asking everybody, call into radio stations, TV stations, call the mayor's office, let them know that you really would like for him to extend the moratorium.
Yeah.
That's an ask we can make, Detroit. Power concedes nothing without a demand.
As Frederick Douglass says that, it never has and it
Never will. Make the demand. If he's truly committed to turning this page on shutting off water, make a demand for the moratorium to continue, but also do your part and get in the process to get the relief.
Water is a human right. Water is a human right. No one should have to try to make it without it. You cannot make it without water.
Oh, man.
You cannot make it. We're so proud of you, Monica Lewis Patrick, CEO of We the People of Detroit.
Well, I'm honored. I'm always honored.
And you are representing us nationally. You go to D.C. all the time. The White House has you on their list as a go-to person for water affordability for the state of Michigan. That's magnificent. The state of Michigan has you on as the point person for water affordability. Everywhere in the state of Michigan, you're known in Benton Harbor, in Muskegon, in Flint, Pontiac, all over Detroit.
Well, it's the house that you and others built. We the People of Detroit is a reflection of the love, of the sacrifice, the service, and the dedication of so many that came before us. And so if we can just do a little bit, as my grandmother was saying, she didn't want our living to be in vain.
Come on now.
And we don't want our living to be in vain.
That's right.
We are working hard at We the People of Detroit. We're super excited about our young folks. We are in a succession planning mode. So you're going to see younger people coming to these events.
I love it.
Speaking with you, learning from you, because we understand, too, we have to be intentional about how we're building our institutions.
Yeah.
And We the People of Detroit is an institution.
Praise God. And you have really distinguished yourself by not just talking, but writing. Mapping the Water Crisis is a wonderful book that's really gone around the world. And now you have a second book.
Yes, ma'am, we
Talk
do.
to us about that.
Thank God for the leadership of not only yourself, but the amazing Dr. Gloria House. We refer to her lovingly as Mama Neb.
That's right.
Her genius and her scholarship, along with Professor Gwen Winston,
Come on now.
really encouraged us to create our own research table.
Yes.
So we have a table of about 67 researchers that convene with We the People of Detroit from around the nation.
I love it.
And many of the questions are questions that the community has put to the table that they want an answer to. And so thank God for the amazing brilliance of Dr. House. Because she was the one that pushed and prodded and said, all of you are educated.
That's
You-
right.
You have degrees. You've
That's
been to
right.
the academy.
That's right.
So convene yourself.
That's right.
You know, y'all always give us an assignment. And we
Appoint
did.
yourself.
We did, because your confidence builds when people that you love
That's
and
right.
you revere tell you you can do it.
That's
it's
right.
like your mama.
That's
Tell
right.
you look cute.
Come
You go, oh, I look cute. My mama said I look cute. So it was like that. And so when we started working, the first thing we wanted to do is just be able to demonstrate the history and legacy of the water department.
And you documented it, and quite frankly, no one else has documented it the way you have. We, the People of Detroit, has documented the water work. And now you're also doing the same with education. I love
Same
it.
with education. We have a book coming out called Mapping the Education Crisis.
I love it.
The Dismantling of African American Neighborhoods in Detroit. We hope that it'll be out by the end of January, 1st of February at the latest. But we believe we've got another barn burner kind of opportunity to get this information out.
And we're going to get more on that story
Yes.
the next time we have our co-host, our superb co-host and sponsor, Monica Lewis Patrick. We the people of Detroit. Thank you so much for all that you do. And thank you for being our very special guest today. God bless you. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Wake up, Detroit.